There we go, and we will try to get started today. And let's see here. I've also been asked to turn on the camera when I'm doing this, so you can see me looking awkwardly off into the background. Okay, so maybe you see me, maybe you don't. So anyway, first thing here, regardless of what you personally may think about what's going on with the COVID situation, the fact of the matter is that this is probably going to be sticking around for a while. And most states, most localities are going to have some form of social distancing. And even if you don't have anything officially put in place, you know, we did a survey of some of our partners last month. You know, we were seeing most partners were seeing a decline in sales of about 15 to 20%. Those doing like internet services, those doing a lot of MSP stuff were actually busier due to people trying to work remotely from home and the efforts that were needed to improve those situations. But again, regardless of what's going on officially with the social distancing rules, what we're seeing out there is people are still going to be afraid to do stuff, right? Places like Georgia, which is largely opened back up, are not seeing anywhere near the customer levels, the foot traffic levels that we saw post-COVID. You're still going to have people afraid of this virus as it takes its time to work its way through the system. And so you'll see people still wanting to maintain social distances, not only just your customers wanting to reduce their exposure to your techs on site, but we've heard from some of our partners that their techs themselves don't want to go on site for the exact same reasons. They want to keep away from people they aren't that familiar with, make sure they're not catching something from them. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Nebula. So Nebula is designed, you know, as a cloud managed networking solution for you. So with using Nebula, it's going to help make things easier, reduce the need to go on site, and in some cases eliminate the needs to even go on site to do a new hardware install. We'll talk a little bit here about how Nebula helps you with that. So for those of you not familiar with Nebula, Nebula is basically a cloud managed networking platform that Zyxel has. It allows you to manage your switches, access points, and security gateway all through a single pane of glass. We have what we call zero touch provisioning. Literally, you plug in the device, it will automatically go out to the internet, find out what the customer it is that it belongs to, and it will download its configuration. It will update any firmware that needs to be done, and you'll be ready to go. So there's no local configuration usually required. One exception to that's going to be if you're doing a fixed IP address. So you may need to log into the devices manually to put in a fixed IP address first. But as long as you're using some form of DHCP, no need for that. So again, Nebula covers are several different product lines for us. On the security gateway side of things, it covers the NSG series. When it comes to switches, the NSW series, the GS1920 V2s, and then coming up here real soon will be the GS1350 series. That should be at the end of June, should be getting Nebula support. And then the GS2220 series of switches. Those will be available here very shortly, and those also support Nebula. On the access point side of things, we have our NAP series of access points. Most of the NWA products, except for the 1100 series, all of the WAC models and the new WAX models all support Nebula. So it's just a little example here of how this works. We are hosting Nebula, let me get my laser pointer here, in an AWS cloud. So it's not our own self-built thing that's sitting in one of our data centers somewhere. We are using AWS. AWS hosts a lot of very popular apps and websites that are out there. They're probably the most popular cloud networking platform. And just to let you guys know, I can only see one box at a time here, so if you have questions, send them in via the Q&A window and I'll try to answer them. I see stuff flashing here that I think people are sending in chat, so please send that via Q&A instead, and I'll try to answer those questions as we go. But basically, Nebula doesn't change anything about how the product itself works. LAN traffic remains on the LAN. Whoops. Boy, I am just having a rough presentation today. So LAN traffic stays on the LAN, wireless LAN traffic stays on the wireless LAN, internet traffic stays on the internet. The only thing that's going to our cloud is the management side of things. So if configuration changes need to be pushed out to your switches or your access points, the cloud will push those out. From the local side here, The only thing that's being pushed from the local side up to the cloud is your logs, the device logs themselves. So because of that, you don't need to worry about things like PCI or HIPAA because none of the customer information is going to touching our cloud. So some of the key takeaways here when using Nebula, setup without contact. So again, as we were talking about a little bit before, there's no need to manually configure any of the devices. There's no need to plug into them with a console cable. There's no need to connect to them via a local Ethernet connection from your PC or something like that. All configuration is done through the cloud at nebula.zyxel.com for all of these devices. So when you get the device has a QR code on it. There is also a QR code on the box itself. So if you're getting the product shipped to you first, before you send it out to your customer, you simply whip out your mobile phone, launch the Nebula app, scan those QR codes, assign them to the customer. And that's the only thing that needs to be done to set these up other than plugging them in and connecting them to a network. I also want to go back here one slide real quick. One thing also that you can do here to help you out is you can start setting up your customer's site and doing a lot of the basic configuration before you even get around to finalizing which hardware you're going to buy to send to them. We have the ability to go in there, set up the customer, set up the sites, and handle a lot of the basic configurations such as your SSIDs, some of the VLAN tags, things like that, before you even buy a piece of hardware. Moving forward here, getting up and running is something that you can do here in just minutes. Again, out on the field, the only thing you need to do is mount these where they need to go, connect power and Ethernet. And just in general, setting up Nebula is pretty simple. If you already have what is it called? If you already have an account with us, you just log in with your account. Otherwise, you create an account that you can use to log into the Nebula portal. And from there, you start creating your customers, start creating their sites. We've got some basic stuff in there, so you can get up and running within just a few minutes from creating the account initially to having an access point up and running a separate guest network with a splash page. You can do all of that in less than 5 minutes. So when it comes to managing Nebula, there's no additional hardware or software required, so there's nothing special you need to install on your PC, nothing that needs to go on a server. There's no cloud keys, no CNAs, no wireless LAN controllers. You just buy the switches, access points, gateways, plug them in, and you're ready to go. And once you've done that, everything is accessible anywhere you are. All you need is a web browser or your mobile phone, and you'll be able to keep an eye on what's going on in your customer networks and make changes should you need to do so. When it comes to the VPN side of things, we've tried to simplify VPN setup. So if you're doing site-to-site VPN, it's really easy. You go into our interface, you select the sites that you want to VPN together, you select the topology you want to use, whether it's hub and spoke or star, and then you just basically click apply, and we'll take care of all the back end of setting up and getting those VPNs running. And then coming here, end of June, beginning of July, we'll have the ability to set up L2TP for remote users to be able to VPN in using a script. So you'll simply provide us the email address, and we will email the person a script needed to configure their device to get it up and running for remote access. All updates are done over the air. You simply log into the cloud, make your configuration changes, and generally within 2 minutes, those configuration changes will be applied out in the field for you. Firmware updates are automatically pushed out. There's no need to go on site. And these can be scheduled. You can do scheduling based on when to do the updates based on the type of device. Switches may be updating at a different time versus access points. You can set up different schedules for different specific devices. So if for some reason these switches are okay to go down Sunday night at midnight and these switches are okay to go down Wednesday, you can do that. And again, as we talked about before, none of the customer information is touching our cloud. So because of that, we've been able to comply with a number of different regulatory rules out there in regards to security and privacy. So in the US, the big two are going to be HIPAA and PCI. You should have no problems complying with those if anybody needs to do an audit. And we comply with a number of different other regulation frameworks you can see there from around the globe. So just to reiterate, all of your clients, all of their sites are all managed through that same nebula.zyxel.com interface. Sorry about that. And of course, the main core Nebula functionality is all free. So I want to take a few minutes here to show you some screenshots of some of the stuff. So when you log in and go to our MSP portal there, you'll get a breakdown here of all of your customers. You can see in there, it'll show you sites each one has and give you a quick brief update of whether they're using the free version of Nebula, whether they're using our Pro Pack, which I'll talk about a little bit later, how many devices are online, any issues that we're seeing. From there, you click down on your customer and it'll show you all of their sites, assuming they have more than one site. And again, the same thing. You've got a nice little quick snapshot of what's going on their different sites. We have Google Maps integration, so we can drag and drop the individual sites for a visual representation on the map as to where they are. And then once you drill down into the site, and I'm using the wrong version of the slide again, there's white text on a white background here, I apologize. But basically, it makes it really easy. Up here, we've got drop-down menus, so you can quickly jump between customers or jump between sites. And then we give you a customizable dashboard here. You can choose which modules to display in which order, but it gives you an idea of what's going on, how many APs are online, how heavy their loading is, PoE, power draw versus budget, things like that. And if you're using our gateway, we can break down data use by individual application as well as user. And from here, you can drill down even farther into individual devices, and this is also where you would do all of your configuration from. This is showing here your connected devices screen, letting you know what's going on the network over time. I believe this is our Wi-Fi screen. So this is showing here all the individual wireless devices that have connected to your access points. Green if they're currently online, red if they've been online but are currently offline. We've got a visual chart up here which you can animate and choose to see bandwidth utilization over time. You can see all sorts of information about the client, the type of device, the username, what channel they were on, signal strength, and all of these columns here are customizable. So you can just customize that to show just what you're interested in. Again, another screen here, this time I believe on the Ethernet side of things, showing what's going on your Ethernet network. When it comes to configuring ports, it's really easy to do so here. You just select the ports you want to configure. And we've got a nice simple pop-up here where you can configure multiple ports simultaneously, simple, easy drop-down menus in the most case to choose what needs to be configured. So now we'll go on a little bit and talk about Professional Pack, because you will see that when you're looking at Nebula products. Some products just say Nebula Flex, some will say Nebula Flex Pro, and Nebula Flex Pro means they include some of our Professional Pack. So Professional Pack is an optional add-on that unlocks some extra features that aren't found in the free version of Nebula. So on the wireless side of things, it opens up a Wi-Fi health report where we're able to track what's going on and sort of highlight for you any users that might be having issues, as well as provides different charts to help visualize individual users. You can see here, letting us know how many users are having some technical issues. We also just in general on the network, the Pro Pack opens up some new things such as alerts. So you can set up customizable alerts to let you know when certain devices have gone offline, and you can define how long they need to be offline before you get notified. Push notifications through the app. With the Pro Pack, we store a year's worth of logs in the cloud for you to keep an eye on. We keep an audit log, so we track every configuration change and which user made those changes. So you can always go back in and find out who made that change, so you can ask them why if you're trying to troubleshoot some issue. A number of customizable reports, which you can have emailed automatically to yourself or to your customer using your logo. And a number of other things here, the ability to export your logs for backing up. We'll create an automatic topology view here. So we'll use SNMP in our tech here to figure out which devices are plugged into which other devices, so you can chart those out, make it easier for you to troubleshoot some issues. If you're doing IPTV, such as in an MXU deployment, we've got a special menu that ProPack opens up that gives you more advanced control over your IGMP settings. We also have a report in there. There we go. which breaks down a lot of what's going on in the network. It'll show you, things you expect to see, which channels people are watching, how much time they're spending on those channels, but we use machine learning also to watch what's going on, try to identify any sort of problems that might be going on with those IPTV streams, and even provide suggestions as to what settings you need to change to help solve those issues. ProPack also unlocks the ability to set up configuration templates. So you can set up a template and then apply that template on a per device or per site basis. Gives us the ability to clone existing customers or existing sites, so you don't have to reset everything up from new. You can just find another customer with a similar network setup, copy them over, and then just change the things that need to be changed. And as I talked about before, it gives you the ability to back up stuff offline. So that's ProPack. And then we also have what's called security packs. All of the NSG gateways include 1 year of this. So the security pack is basically UTM functionality. It unlocks content filtering, IDP, things like that across your network. So it also unlocks for you the ability to have what we call application awareness. This allows our reports we generate to identify behavior on the network based on the individual application. It also makes it easy for us to go in and set firewall policy rules based on applications or certain sub-features of those applications, just using drop-down menus. So you don't need to know IP address, protocol, things like that. We can automatically identify a number of different apps and features of those apps so you can set up your policy routes. We give you some reports here to show what's going on your network, who's doing what. Reports on antivirus, letting you know what's been blocked, when the attacks came through, where they were coming from, who was targeted. So to break it all down for you, the main version of Nebula is free. It gives you the ability to manage an unlimited number of customers, an unlimited number of sites under those customers. It gives you access to the ability to, provide over-the-air updates, to schedule those updates, gives you access to all of the core functionality that you would need to configure. SSIDs, VLAN tags, policy routes, all of those things are covered under the free version of Nebula. Or smart mesh functionality where the APIs can automatically mesh together. That's part of the free version of Nebula. So going up to the professional pack, this is available either as an annual license or as like a perpetual license. And the perpetual license is done like a site license. So it's not tied to an individual piece of hardware. So we'll say, I want X number of access points. Those will be covered regardless of what the models are. So you can always remove stuff and add new products later, upgrade from 11AC to Wi-Fi 6, things like that without having to rebuy the licenses. So the professional pack unlocks those other things we were talking about before, a year's worth of logs versus a week's worth of logs in the free version. Gives you an additional number of admin accounts that you can create. And admin accounts are highly, what's the term I'm looking for here? Granular. So they allow you to go in there and you can control which sites people have. Even at the same customer, different admins can have different levels at each individual site that customer has. It unlocks all those reports we were talking about and things like that. So for the most part, free version is good for a lot of people. If you're trying to be more proactive, you're trying to generate reports, really keeping an eye on what's going on in your customer site, professional pack might be for you. We're also constantly adding new features. So for instance, the ability to email people to automate the process of setting up L2TP VPNs. That's going to be a ProPack feature when it comes out here at the end of June. And then the security pack is just for the NSGs, and it has nothing to do with whether you're using the free or the professional version of Nebula. So let's go through here and talk about some of the different models. So the NSG are our security gateways currently. So we've got everything from an NSG 50 going up to a 300. Features are the same. The difference is the physical form factor, how many ports they have, and just how powerful their processor is, how much they can push through. All of them include 1 year of ProPack and 1 year of the NSS license out of the box. On the switch side of things, we have the NSW series. These all include 1 year of the ProPack. We have our GS2220 series. These all include 1 year of the ProPack. Our XS3800 also includes 1 year of ProPack. And then we've got here the GS1920 and the XS1930 switches. These all do not include any ProPack. These just come out of the box with the free version of Nebula, but you can always buy the license to add ProPack to it later. And then on the AP side of things, it gets kind of confusing. The short version is basically everything that we have these days is Nebula compatible, with the exception of the NWA 5123 AC. Everything else can be Nebula managed and will be either Nebula Flex or Nebula Pro. Basically the 1100 series, so the 1123 AC, 1123 AC HD, those are all, do not include any Pro Pack. Going up from there, the NWA 5123 ACHD, the WAC 6103, and everything higher than that, those all include 1 year of Pro Pack, and then the NAP series of access points come with 3 years of Pro Pack. So I hope you found today interesting. I apologize about some of the technical issues I ran into. But if you're interested in this, at any point, you can just go to nebula.zyxel.com. You can log in and we have a demo site up and running. You can try that out, see how that works for you. Play around with what's in there and get a feel for it. Alternately, if you're one of our channel partner programs or partners, or if not, if you're a value-added reseller, an SI and MSP, join our partner program. It's free. Talk to your sales rep. They can get you a 60-day demo kit to get you some hardware that you can literally try with there at your office or at home. So guys, that concludes today's webinar. It was kind of a short one there, at least by my standards. Questions, go ahead, send them in with the Q&A interface. If you want to talk to me offline, my email is up there on the screen, seanr@zyxel.com. Feel free to reach out to me directly with any questions you have. So I'll start going through here some of the questions. So does Nebula support bandwidth testing? I see that there is a historical traffic data for devices in Nebula. I don't believe we currently have the ability to do like are you talking about doing a test from, say, this access point out to the internet, like a speed test type thing? Because we don't have that, but we are able to sort of track what's going on a per port basis and see how much bandwidth is being utilized overall that way. So we're keeping an eye on actual bandwidth utilization of connected devices. I don't believe we currently have anything in there that lets us do device to device throughput testing or device to the cloud throughput testing, although I think that's on the roadmap for some time in the future. Adam's asking here, what is the performance hit on the appliance for this management overhead? So there really is none. The management data that's being sent is very minimal. We use this product in a lot of emerging markets where bandwidth is heavily throttled or capped. So we've spent a lot of time and attention to make sure that we're not using up a lot of bandwidth that's going to slow things down. So basically, periodically, the device themselves basically ping the cloud and say, hey, here's my ID. Has anything changed? Nope, nothing's changed. And then we'll wait a little while and check again. So your only time you're sending any significant amount of information is, when something has changed or when there's a firmware update that needs to do. Now, one thing I do need to talk about is the feature set may be different between if you're using a device in standalone mode versus using the device in Nebula mode. So you may find there's some extra features in Nebula mode, but you also might be missing out on a couple features. So that is something to keep in mind, is to take a look at the features that you need and make sure that they are there in Nebula. For the most part, they are, but every now and then we get somebody that's doing something that's pretty advanced and we find that is not currently supported in Nebula. And there are some things in Nebula, like some of the reports and stuff that just aren't available in the standalone modes. Okay, so we have a question here. Will you please address Zyxel's use of points to renew annual Pro Pack licenses versus Pro Pack lifetime? Can you discuss the use of co-term licenses? Sure. So when it comes to Nebula, everything is co-terminated. So we primarily are selling our licenses as annual renewals simply because that's what most people have asked us for. So we can sell you, you have 10 APs, you need to renew them, we can sell you 10 AP licenses. Same thing for your switches. We also sell these as points. So that actually makes it easier. So if you're going to renew things and you've got a number of devices on your, out there, instead of buying, 20 or 30 or 40 individual licenses and then having to apply each one of them, you can instead buy points. So that way it will reduce the number of SKUs to just, maybe 3 that you need to buy to get to the number of points to cover things. So if you go into the Nebula interface, you go into license management, we've got a thing there where you can say, this is the date I want things to expire, and it'll tell you how many points you need to purchase from us. So on the back-end management, all of that is done by points. So you buy a year license for an AP, that gets converted into points for you. I believe it's 30 points per AP, 35 points per switch license, and 50 points per NSG license. Could be wrong, but I believe those are the numbers. So those points are automatically assigned to your customer and distributed across all the products there. So everything is going to expire at the same time. So if you've got 10 access points, but you only buy 5 one-year licenses, when you apply those licenses, you'll end up only extending that site out 6 months, right? Because you had 5 licenses for 10 devices. So we convert those to points, distribute them among the actual 10 devices that you have. So it's designed to make things easier. It's kind of hard to explain, but once you start using it, it makes a lot of sense. And the idea here is to avoid the situation where you've got, my switches are expiring on this date, my access points are expiring on this date. This other switch that I added 3 weeks later, it's expiring at a different time. So we've tried to simplify things by making everything terminate at the same time. So you only have one date that you need to renew things. Bryce here is asking, is LACP support coming back with this series? I don't know. I primarily focus on the wireless side of things. I am not familiar with that feature of our security gateways. If you want to send me an email, again, my email is up there on the screen right now, seanr@zyxel.com. I can find out the answer for you and get back to you offline. David Gould is asking a question. Why isn't the NAP 353 a device for the health beta when? So the health report is out of beta. It's available now for most devices. Excuse me, not most devices. It's available for our Wave Tube devices. And it's going to be available on all of our Wi-Fi 6 access points that are coming out or have come out in the future. It's not going to come to some of the older products. The NAP 353, as David was asking about, the NAPS 102, stuff like that, simply because those devices don't have that functionality. The hardware does not have the functionality that's required for the health report. So it's currently available. The health report is available on the 1123 ACHD. It's available on the 5123 ACHD. It's available on the WAC 6303DS. And then it will be available on all Wi-Fi 6 access points. Maybe not necessarily at the launch of the access point, but it will come. But the other models, unfortunately, we don't have the functionality at the chipset level or the hardware design level to be able to support the report. Alex is asking about captive portal integration. So we do support captive portal. You can do it on an access point by itself, or you can do it at the gateway if you want to provide it across wired and wireless devices. So we've got a built-in captive portal you can use. You can set it up to do a terms of service situation. You can have people log in with a username and password. You can have them log in with their Facebook account. The captive portal is fully customizable. So we've got a basic interface where you can change some things through the Nebula interface, or we'll let you download the CSS and HTML files, and you can edit those to make them look like anything you want, and then re-upload them back to the cloud for us to host. If you're looking for functionality in your captive portal that Nebula doesn't natively support, so you'd like to capture some more information, you'd like to have them fill out a questionnaire, things like that, we can absolutely do that with Nebula. You can have us point to an external portal where you can add the extra information you need, have it save that information back to your server, and then have them log in using Nebula. So if they're having them create, say, their own unique username and passwords, we can point Nebula to have it authenticate against that Radius database that website you set up is saving them to. So a lot of flexibility when it comes to the captive portal, and that's all available on the free version. Adam's asking about the script. So the script I was talking about earlier in today's presentation was about setting up VPN, specifically L2TP VPN. That's what a lot of people are using on their mobile devices, their laptops, or their tablets to be able to work from home and VPN back into the office. So I haven't played with it yet. It's not available yet. It's coming out end of next month. But we're going to have the ability on supported devices to have a script that we email the user runs the script, and the script will take care of configuring the VPN client for them. So we'll have another presentation probably in early July with those new features where we'll go through those new features and exactly how they work. Also currently available right now in Nebula on many of our devices is we do also have CLI access remotely. So if you're one of those people that likes to use SSH to control things and don't like using a web GUI, we do have that now as a feature on most of our products, and I believe that's a ProPack only feature. So if you'd like to do your own scripting using command lines with ProPack, you can do that on a number of our devices. And over time, we'll continue to expand it. The goal is to eventually have CLI access to all of our different models. Yeah, David, just send me an email offline. I'll see if I can help with that. We might need to get Marcus involved, but yeah, we can absolutely take care of that for you. An anonymous attendee is asking, is there still a chance to win the access point? Yeah, I think we were giving away an access point. Our marketing team handles that, so it's still going on. I didn't follow exactly which rules they put in place for that, but I believe most people who attend the majority of today's webinar are eligible for that, and we'll announce the winner in a email coming up after we've done that. Are there any other questions, guys? If there are, again, send them in through the Q&A. Let me look through chat to see if there's something on there I missed. Okay, looks like nothing there. Here we go. Paul had a question. Any plans to add Nebula as an option to other current products? I think when it comes to current products, we're pretty much where we are, but everything new that's coming forward, or just about everything new, is planned to have Nebula as an option for management. You know, almost all new switches are going to have that. All the new access points are, even on the gateway side of things. We've got the USG Flex series coming out shortly. By the end of the year, that should also be Nebula manageable. So just in general, we're trying to consolidate our model lines. Right, things got really confusing on the security side of things and on the access side of things especially. So going forward here in the future, we're trying to consolidate things down. Once we've launched some of the new models, I'll have a dedicated access point presentation where we'll go through what's going on in the different models that we have coming, different models that have come out, what's going to get phased out. But eventually here, it's going to get a lot simpler for you because there won't be separate Nebula models, some Nebula Flex models, some Nebula Flex Pro. It'll be simplified a lot more for you. I didn't see any other questions, so thank you everybody who joined us. I appreciate you coming out. I hope you found something interesting here. If you are typing up a question, just go ahead and highlight it, control copy it, and just email it to me and I'll answer you offline. Again, it's shawnr@zyxel.com, and I'll be happy to try to help out for you.